We are so strong.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Strong podcast. I am so excited to be back with you. It has been a hot minute since we've been here. We moved house, and so we needed time to build this new studio and settle in and get back on track with some new equipment. And we are just so excited to be presenting and sharing and spending some time together again, hopefully inspiring you and also encouraging you to walk closely with Jesus. So have you ever come home after a full day out, like your car is packed with groceries and you're starving? Unless you're just super organized, which might be the case, and have eaten beforehand or picked something up on the way home. This kind of scenario happens to me all the time. Like the groceries, they need to go in the fridge, but I also need to eat. Both are true and both matter. And this is a very real question of what do I attend to first? It's such a small thing, but lately I've been seeing that life can be like that. Two things can be true at the same time. You're exhausted from a big day out, but you're also grateful that you've had these beautiful moments that you've shared with loved ones or family, and you've spent the day together. You don't have much money in the bank left after payday. Hello, anyone, but you've paid your bills and for that cycle, and you've hopefully put a little bit away for savings. So it's okay that there's only a little bit left. You love working from home, and sometimes you need to leave the house just to feel sane. You're excited about the opportunity and mildly terrified about it too. This one I definitely relate to. I feel this quite often, and it's weird, but it can be both things. You're making progress and it's not glamorous. You love your calling and sometimes want to quit. You're healing and still triggered sometimes. You finally get an early night and your baby wakes up more often and you can't go back to sleep quickly. You prayed for patience and then you get tested before 9 a.m. You're grateful for growth and you're tired of growing. Most mornings, this is how I feel about going to the gym. The truth is, I don't really want to go. I would much rather stay at home or clean my house or sleep in or have a lazy day. But the other truth is that I need to go to the gym. This will give me energy. And I always feel proud of myself for what I just did, and my body feels good about it. Two things can be true at the same time. So honestly, friends, I've been waiting on God for something. I've been praying about it and I've been asking Him to move on something in my life. I'm sure that you can relate. And I have to be patient because I know His promises are true. As Romans 8:28 tells us, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. Or Philippians 1:6 tells us, He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Yet the other truth is that waiting, it can be really hard, like really hard. Sometimes life can feel like we're playing a game, like two truths and a lie. Have you ever seen that game played either on game shows or maybe you've played it yourself? It's really self-explanatory, but basically someone tells two truths about themselves, then throws in a lie in the mix, and everyone else has to guess which statement is the lie and which ones are true. Now, when I used to work with young people, we played this game all the time, okay? So I had to have a go-to because I was playing it all the time. So this was it. I love mangoes, I love pineapple, I love watermelon. Now, I made them all the same theme to confuse people as to what was the lie, and I would say it all at once and in the same tone because, sometimes we can give it away with the way that we say things. So can you guess which one of my fruit-eating statements was the lie? Well, I do love mangoes. They are my favorite fruit ever. I love them so much. And I love watermelon, but I hate pineapple. There's something about the texture and the taste. I cannot stand it. I don't like it on pizza. I don't like it in a sweet and sour sauce. I definitely don't like it in a burger, and I don't like it fried. I just don't like it. But when you mix in the lie with the truths, it can be hard to tell which voice is which. And this is the enemy's secret weapon. He doesn't always just come out with the straight up lie. I mean, that would be too obvious. But he will distort the truth. He'll hide something that might not be too obvious or mix it in with enough truth that it seems believable. It may look innocent, but it's not. Deception is dangerous. When you are in the waiting room, the truth is that the waiting season is really hard. And you also have another truth to hold on to, that God works for the good of those who love him. He who began a good work in you will carry it to completion. But the lie that can get caught up in the mix might be that God does that for everyone else, but somehow he's forgotten about you. Or how about when you've been hit by something hard and painful? The truth is that it does hurt. It did hurt you. It knocked the wind right out of your sails. You didn't just bounce back like maybe you wanted to. You had to sit with the pain and slowly begin to regroup, redefine some things, and ultimately rebuild. The other truth is that now you are stronger than you were before. You learned some really valuable lessons. You grew and you are not the same person that you were. But a little lie can sneak in that says something like, because of your growth, nothing of this nature can ever hurt you again. And then something triggers you. And it feels like the struggle means that you're weak. The lie says that strong people don't get triggered. The lie says that if it stings, then maybe you must not have grown enough. The lie says if you were really healed, this wouldn't affect you. But here are the two truths. You were wounded and you are stronger. Both are true. Or what about when anxiety rears its ugly and, in my life, very familiar head? The truth is that it is felt in our body. Our heart might race, our thoughts speed up, and it is very real. But the other truth is that anxiety, although it is very loud, it isn't always the best gauge as to what is actually happening in real time. The lie is that our body can be misinterpreting the situation and causing alarm or panic. And that brings us to the biggest lie that can be seen in almost every situation we are in, when fear stomps its way into our lives as the only truth. It's real, it's felt. So does that mean that fear is what we need to pay attention to? In the words of our beloved Grinch,
wrong-o.
This could not be further from the truth. Fear wants the microphone. Fear wants to be the loudest voice in the room. Fear wants control. And honestly, too many times I've just handed it over. But this is what I'm learning and growing in. When I'm in a waiting season, two things are true. It's hard and I have the promises of God. And when fear whispers things like, you've been forgotten, you missed your chance, you're not enough, a louder voice must take the microphone, the voice that says, God has never failed me and he is not about to start now. When I've been hit with something really hard, two things are true. It hurts and I'm rebuilding. And when fear says, you're still weak, you're not strong enough for this, a louder voice must take the microphone. The voice that says, God is walking through this valley with me. I'm not alone in this. Now, one truth doesn't necessarily cancel out the other truth, but that certainly doesn't mean that the lie can take center stage. When anxiety rises, two things are true. The feelings are real. And I'm capable of steadying myself. But when fear tells me to spiral, panic, shut down, blow up, withdraw, a louder voice must take the microphone. The voice that says, fear doesn't get to dictate my story. There's a beautiful song that I love so much. It's by Kirk Franklin and Maverick City. And it says, fear is not my future. Such an awesome song. I want to take a deep dive into the life of Joseph for a few moments. He's one of my favorite people in the Bible, and I'm so keen to meet him one day. His life was one of hopes and dreams and really the bottom of the pit. I'm actually planning to do a Bible study series on him to share with you later on because I just absolutely loved studying his life and there was so much to draw from. But today, I just want to draw out just a few significant aspects of his story. When we first meet Joseph in Genesis 37, two things are immediately true. Joseph was a favorite child and he was hated. Genesis 37:4 says, when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. I would imagine that Joseph would probably have known that they didn't like him. And that word hated is strong language. It means it was personal. Then you add the fact that Joseph was having these dreams and he decided to tell his family about it. I tend to think that like he was having these dreams and he wanted to process them, but the brothers took it as like fuel to hate him even more. Like, how dare he tell us about how he's better than us and rah, rah, rah. So the brothers go away to tend the sheep, as was their job to do, and they were supposed to be near Shechem. So Jacob sends Joseph, and in verse 14, he says, go see if all is well and bring word back to me. Now, when I read that, I think, cool, he was checking in. But the brothers, they see him coming and they think he is checking up on us. Very different way to look at the situation. They go further than they were meant to. And so Joseph travels all the way to Dothan, which is about 104 kilometers away from Jacob's tent. That's a long way to travel when you're not in a car. And commentaries tell us that the brothers went far because they wanted their distance from Joseph. And when they see him, they think, let's kill him. I mean, I think that's wild, right? Like seeing a sibling and thinking, let's end his life. That's crazy. But they change their minds and they end up selling him as a slave to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels. Now, 20 shekels was a very basic average price for a slave. But the Ishmaelites, they would have seen that there was something shady going on and they would have seen that Joseph doesn't look like a slave. So they offered a minimum price. Then Joseph's brothers begin the biggest lie of their lives. As Joseph travels off to Egypt as a slave, they go off back to their father's tent to tell their father that Joseph had died. Two things are true at the same time. God had given Joseph dreams, and Joseph is now a slave. Now, what happens between when he leaves his brothers and when he arrives in Egypt, the Bible doesn't tell us too much detail, but that journey becomes incredibly significant. He went from grief to complete trust in God. He left Canaan a boy, the favorite, the delicate little son, and he arrived in Egypt as a man who had made a decision and a resolution. Genesis 39:2 says, the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered. Another two things are true here. Joseph was far away from his family, but the Lord was with him. That statement is remarkable. The Lord was with him as a slave. Then another chapter in the life of Joseph is found in Genesis 40. And Joseph is in jail with a baker and a cupbearer. They were high court officials and they were there probably because there was suspicion of treason or attempting to harm the king. I mean, that's one of the only reasons why someone who works in the king's court is suddenly thrown into prison. And we read in Genesis 40 verses 4-7 that Joseph notices that they were dejected. And he asks them, why do you look so sad today? And we read in Genesis 40 verses 4-7 that Joseph notices they are dejected and asks, why do you look so sad today? That one simple question set off a chain of events in Joseph's life that would change his future forever. It was a very distinct moment because the only reason why Joseph would even know that they were dejected is because he had taken time to get to know them beforehand. We don't know how long they're in prison, but during that time, Joseph would have seen these two men and he would have become familiar with their demeanor. Now, on this particular day, they look downcast. So Joseph notices and is basically saying, hey, is everything okay? Two truths at once. Joseph is in prison for something that he didn't do, but that's another story for another day. And also Joseph is still able to notice that someone else is feeling sad. Now, the reason why that one simple question set off a chain of events in Joseph's life is because the baker and the cupbearer revealed to Joseph, because of his question, that they had had some troubling dreams, and they shared those dreams with Joseph. Now, he interprets them, and the dreams reveal that one is getting out and the other is headed for the end of his life. Headed. Is that the best word to describe it? In verse 14, Joseph says to the cupbearer, "When all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of prison." When he says when all goes well, the Hebrew origin expresses happiness and hope. Joseph was hopeful. He wished him well in his future. And I love that Joseph can have happiness and hope for someone else even when he's in the worst season of his life. I want to be like that. In the days of my valley, I want to still have hope and happiness for others. Then in verse 23, it says that the chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. Two truths again. He's hopeful for the cupbearer and he's also forgotten. I am sure that would have been so devastating to Joseph. He helps someone and says, "Please remember me," and the guy just goes on and forgets. 2 years go by, and then Pharaoh has a dream, and that's when the cupbearer remembers this old mate in prison who interprets dreams. And really, it's a rags to riches kind of a moment, except it was all God. And Joseph ends up becoming second in charge of the whole kingdom, managing what was to happen during the 7 years of plenty. You can check out the whole story in Genesis 41. Now, my absolute favorite scripture from the story of Joseph, and I've had it close to my heart for a couple of years now. I actually think it's becoming one of my favorite scriptures of all time, is Genesis 50, verse 20. After there is reconciliation with his family, after the whole family moves to Egypt to be taken care of, and after Jacob, Joseph's father, dies, the brothers are scared again, thinking that, oh, now Joseph is finally going to take his vengeance on them. And he says to them so beautifully, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Both things were true. The brothers did not intend to harm Joseph, and God did intend it for good. And side but very important note, maybe there are times when people harm us and don't even realize what they've done or how bad it truly was, and God turns it into good. And that is the beauty about God. He is always turning things for good. He is always making a way where there is no way. As we step back from the story, here are a few thoughts that I want to leave with you about Joseph. Firstly, the Bible tells us that everything he touched prospered because the Lord blessed him. And Joseph worked hard at what he did and was diligent. This means that when life deals us some hard chapters, we can still work hard to make them the best that they can be. And God will bless that. Joseph was in Potiphar's house and was such a good worker that he eventually became in charge of the whole household. Then in prison, he eventually became in charge of all the prisoners. Because of that faithfulness, because he kept rising in leadership, even in the hard places, he was eventually given the stewardship, the leadership over the entire nation. When we are holding two truths, don't get caught up in the lie that we need to stay a victim and squander what actually might be an opportunity to rise. Secondly, Joseph took notice of people around him. No matter how hard life gets, we can't get so hyper-focused on ourselves that we don't take the time to look around and ask the simple question of, how are you doing? This is so important because we can do better. We can look up, we can take the focus off ourselves for a moment to notice someone else. And finally, when people have harmed us, first of all, I just want to say how sorry I am and how sad that you have had to walk that difficult path. I may not know the details, but I can empathize with the feeling of betrayal or pain, and it's especially hard when they don't even realize what they've done. But what I know to be true is that God will work and can work it into good. He can. He's actually capable of doing that. Do we believe that? I heard a sermon recently where the preacher said, do we believe God enough to move? That really struck me. Do I actually believe God enough to move? That really puts faith into obedience. All right, so I wanted to end this episode with something really practical. Like, I'm a practical girl. I love the theology. I love the meat. I love the good stuff. And at the same time, I want to know how this applies to my Monday. When my 5 a.m. alarm goes off, when my bank account is a little thin, when I'm tired and still have 2 boys to feed, shower, and put to sleep, because Joseph's character formation didn't happen in the palace. It happened in the everyday. Because the whole journey adds up. So I turned to ChatGPT. Yes, I'm going to admit I used AI to help me out with some real practical truths about how to turn this into your best everyday response. Okay, you ready for it? All right, number 1, name the 2 truths out loud when you're in the waiting room, okay? Name it. Literally say, I'm in pain, but I still believe God has spoken. I'm tired and I'm hopeful. Don't force one to cancel the other. Joseph didn't deny the prison. That would just be living in denial, and that's not what we're about. But he did rise to the occasion. So name the truths. Number 2, identify the third voice. Ask yourself, what is the sentence that fear keeps repeating, okay? This is forever, or you missed it, or you're behind, or it's never changing. Write it down. When it's identified and ultimately exposed, it will lose its power. All right, I love this one. Number 3, don't make permanent conclusions in temporary seasons. The lie loves absolutes, always, never, forever. Joseph could have decided in year 2 of prison that this was his life now, but he had no idea what was around the corner. I was reminded of this when I thought back to a trial I went through, and I listened to a podcast where a woman shares that this was the advice that she was given, and it really resonated with me. So I'll say it again. Don't make permanent conclusions in temporary seasons. Okay, this is another good one. Number 4, keep moving in small obedience. This is your do we believe God enough to move moment, okay? In the waiting, keep serving. In the waiting, keep showing up. In the waiting, keep being diligent. Keep asking people, why do you look so sad today? Movement silences fear. This is what our instructors are always telling us at the gym. Keep moving. Even when you change the exercise or you slow it down, just keep moving. Don't stop. Number 5, guard what gets the microphone. When you feel the spiral starting, ask, who's narrating this moment right now? Is it fear? Is it comparison? Is it bitterness? Or is it God's truth? We don't actually, and unfortunately, we don't get to control the season we're in. And being the control freak I am, I would love to just speed my way out of my valleys. But I don't get to control it. What I do get to control is who has the microphone in my life. Okay, I thought AI did pretty good coming up with those practicalities. Now let's wrap this up. How are you doing? Do you need a moment? Do you need a prayer? Are you ready to give the microphone over to the Lord and allow His promises to sing over you? I'd love for you to write to us. You can email us directly at hello@soulstrong.com.au or send us a DM, and we would love to hear your story and pray for you. Too many times I've allowed the lies to be louder than the truth. Too many times I've allowed myself to feel like a victim when I'm in the dark seasons of life. But I want to stand on the truth that He who began a good work is able to complete it, and stand on the promises that He will turn it for good. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for watching and for listening and being a part of this conversation with us. If this podcast has encouraged you or strengthened your faith, we invite you to partner with us. Building this podcast has taken a significant investment, and we want to continue this work with excellence. Your support helps us create high-quality conversations and reach more people with hope and faith and resilience. A great way to support us is by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing this podcast with others. If you'd like to partner financially via a monthly or a one-off gift, please use the link in the description below. And thank you again for believing in this work and helping us continue to grow.
I am, you are, we are so strong.